are talking about today is the ultimate rep and manager relationship. My name is Lauren Bailey. If you haven't joined us before, my friends call me LB. I'm the founder of Girls Club and Factor 8, and I'm joined by these incredible people. Let's take a look at them a little bit closer and have them introduce themselves, because we're going to get a lot out of today. Brian, please, would you go first?
Thanks, LB. My name is Brian Hamblin. My friends call me Ham, so you may hear that. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Sisu Data, based here in the San Francisco Bay Area. We're an ML and AI analytics company that helps people make better decisions with data. And yeah, part of a fantastic panel here with LB, Mark, and Cassidy. So looking forward to the conversation.
When you say ML, I know what AI is, but I don't know what ML is.
Machine learning. So the ability to bring machine learning closer to the business and help you understand the data and sort of why your metrics are changing.
Awesome. It's really good. So Brian with Sisu, they are sponsors of Girls Club and help make it possible, but also winners in our top 10 list of companies where women want to work. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
All right, Cassidy, take it away.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Cassidy Coates. I am a regional account manager at KnowBe4, better known, I guess, just as a sales rep. And fun fact, actually, I heard of KnowBe4 through Girls Club. So just a cool little full circle connection for me there.
So, but you're not giving yourself credit, right? So Cassidy applied to be part of the Girls Club Generation 3 cohort, was accepted, was awarded a scholarship from KnowBe4, one of our sponsors, and now is a top account rep for KnowBe4. So we love that. And then as KnowBe4 sponsored this webinar for us, they sent Cassidy to fill the seat. So I love that, because I'm having a full circle moment too. I think that's fantastic. Mark Baird.
Hey everyone, I'm the VP of Sales at Ascent Cloud. We are a sales performance management suite of solutions. We have a couple of top apps on the App Exchange, including GeoPoint and Level 11, and honored to be with you all today. What a great topic. Thanks for including us.
Hey, I've got to recognize you, please, Mark, because not only has Ascent Club been making Girls Club possible for 3 years now, but Mark also volunteers his time as a mentor. And that's a BFD for us. We've got lots of really great men who play in Girls Club, and we probably embarrass you with the name of it, Mark, all the time, but you've met 3 different proteges and helped them up-level their career throughout that time. And I know you wouldn't keep coming back if it weren't meaningful to you and helping develop the next generation. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Great program.
All right. Here's what we're talking about today. So why now, right? So Factor 8 did a really cool rep retention study, and we're going to look at some of those insights. Retention came up as a big deal because it's hard to find employees. And now we're facing some economic uncertainty. And again, let's make sure that we're retaining the right employees. I think it becomes even more important in today's uncertain times. So then we're going to have 2 halves, right? Half 1 is going to be from the manager point of view. How do we retain our best people? But half 2 is going to be from the rep point of view, right? Like, how do we make sure it's a great relationship? AKA, how do we make sure we're our manager's favorite? We will stop it at the bottom half of the hour, 10:30 if you're Pacific. But our panel has agreed to stay on for questions, because I know it can be a really meaty topic. If you've just joined us and you're wondering what the heck's going on in the chat, name, location, and your maybe not 10 recognized out in the world of superhero superpower, like stacking the dishwasher, making a meal out of nothing. So join us with that in your chat. Keep it open, because we're going to do a pop quiz. First, I have to brag about Girls Club and what all of these sponsors have made possible. We're in our 4th year or 4th generation cohort of women who are up-leveling their career to get into sales leadership. So far, we've been a part of over 250 promotions, which is what lights me up. But just generation 4 playing, these are our logos just from this year: 115 companies, 208 participants, 23 states, and 7 countries. So it's really exploding, and we are spreading happiness and goodness and some girl power, I think, but also just flooding the world with awesome, ready to lead sales managers. Here we go. Keep your chats ready. We're going to do a pop quiz. According to the Factor 8 retention study, we're going to ask questions, and then I'm going to quiz the panel as well. Question number 1. If you want to cheat, go download this now. It's really cool information. I'm only going to hit the surface. What did reps rate as their number one factor for retention? So in your chat, you're going to be typing in a word or a phrase. This is the number one reason I leave a company, or the number one thing a company can do to keep me. Alicia says training, culture, manager, being valued. Okay, keep that coming in. Mark, you're top of my Brady Bunch. What do you want to guess the answer came in as?
I think it's a general, like, can I be successful here? You know, are things lined up for me to do well?
To be successful. Yeah, you know what? I don't think that was one of the actual answers, because you totally like umbrellaed it, right? Way to make sure you're not wrong in the answer, Mark Baird. Well done. Well done. But I think that is exactly the feeling. The answer that came up as number one for all reps was training and development, which goes under your umbrella beautifully, right? Can I be successful here? Nice job. Thanks, everybody. So Alicia got that one right. Number two question, where did managers rate this factor? So your answer in chat's going to be a number. Okay. Rep said training and development was number one. What rank was that for managers? Elizabeth says number 5. Brian says 5. Tom Daly's at a 2. All right, Brian Hamblin, I'm coming to you next. Our expert panel, what number do you think it was for managers?
I think they probably rated it lower for a variety of reasons. I would say it's probably 3.
He's going with a 3, which seems to be about the average of what we're seeing in the chat. Here's our first big surprise. The answer was also number 1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Managers want that development as well. We just don't do it as often, right? Which is how and why Girls Club was even invented. I used to run training for companies, and it was all about rep training first, because you have limited resources and there's a hell of a lot more of them, right? But we don't often get to the manager development. So by the way, the top 3 things for managers, what they want to stay with their employee: training and management skill development, coaching, and feedback from leadership, and those career growth opportunities. Those are the top 3, all under Mark Baird's brilliant umbrella. Here we go. Number 3. Cassidy, this one's coming to you. Get ready in the chat. What do leaders think the top reason for attrition is? So again, this will be a word or a phrase that says, I think people are leaving because I need to provide more blank. It feels like a 70s game show.
I was going to say, I'm torn between saying like money or pay or culture, because I think that maybe over the last few years, we've seen a switch towards culture being more important and more emphasis on that. But I'm going to go with money.
Final answer.
Stay there. Yep,
Final
money.
answer is money.
Good answer. Good answer.
That's right. It's every game show you've ever watched, folks. The final answer is money. And by the way, every single person in the chat agreed with you, and you are exactly right. Right? So leaders, I'm so sorry, but we're wrong. We think to keep our people, we got to pay them more. And there was a study recently, I'm going to credit it to Gallup, but I'm probably wrong, that said, if you have somebody who loves their manager, they need a bump of over 20% in order to entertain an offer from the outside. So when we hear that, we think compensation, let's do something about that. But I think what our reps and managers are hearing is teach us how to have a better relationship, which is of course what we're about to do. Here we go. Last 2 answers. We're going to go quick lightning round. This one is a percent. In your answer, it is a number. What percent of leaders have reported that their attrition is up in the last year? Is it a problem? Is it not? Anybody on the panel, go ahead and guess along with our chats. I've got 90s. I've got 75s. I got a 25.
At least 50%,
Yeah.
Probably.
Maybe
It's
even higher.
different.
Close to 60 or 70. I agree with Cassie. It's over 50% for sure.
Over 50%. Mark, do you want to say $1?
Yeah, 71%.
70. I like that. Mark, you're darn, it's 70%.
Oh, shoot, over.
Mark takes it exactly, but it's not Price is Right style. So you're okay. You're okay. All right. Last question is, what percent of reps say they left because of culture or leadership, which is what you thought the top answer was, right? What percent, this is a number, what percent of reps left due to culture and or leadership? I'm all over the board from 20 to 90 in the chat. Cassidy, you nailed it last time.
I'm feeling like 90%.
You're thinking it's high.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's real high.
Right? A lot of the panel or the chat agrees with you. The number is actually 39%. The next answer down was a 19%. I think, hopefully I download it so you can see yourself. And that one was training and development. So folks, this is why we're talking about it now. So I'm going to stop sharing the slides if I can find that in Zoom. And we're going to go straight to our first question for the panel. And the first question is lightning round. What are the top 2 things managers can and should be doing to retain their reps? Brian Ham, may I start with you, please?
Yeah, I think quick 2. Number 1, you have to create coaching opportunities outside of the normal flow. This is not your pipeline call, your forecast call. So dedicated coaching sessions, whether that's negotiation, hey, how do we price anchor? Doesn't have to be an hour long, could be 20 minutes, can be an hour, but dedicated coaching sessions, number 1. And then number 2, you have to have an explicit growth template defined with individuals. So what does my path to development look like on a quarterly basis, competencies, objectives, and actually document that and monitor that continually. Again, not just in a 360 review annually, but continually. Those are the 2 big ones.
Really, really good. And the great news is it checks a ton of those boxes and free. An individual learning and development plan, it can live in an email. Really nice job. Thank you. Cassidy, you're up next.
I was going to say, Brian, I'm going to politely disagree with you. Not saying that all of that's wrong, but I would say from my perspective as a rep, the things that managers can do right to retain and keep engaging folks is those little things. So I'm talking about, like, if you use Slack or some sort of channel, like, they shouldn't only be hearing from you when it's, you know, get your dials up or where's your forecast, things like that. It's the, like, little human moments, or like getting on a Zoom call and just, you know, kind of talking about your day and those sort of things to, like, really build that relationship, especially in a virtual world. Now, a lot of us are still working remote. And I would just say too, like, just, I guess that's the message, doing those little things right. So I'm not saying you're all the way wrong, but I'm just disagreeing.
No, that's a great point. I mean, I think it touches on the factor underneath that, which is connectedness. And it's such a huge part of doing that. So that's a great, I mean,
I love it. I love it. Ooh, and Cassidy's getting a +1 in the chat. Thank you, Mark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think it's it's obviously different for each person in terms of kind of how do you kind of meet their professional love language. So I think on one of our prep calls, Cassidy said, don't be toxic. So I'm just going to start there. And yeah, I mean, it's, and I guess the other side is don't be hypocritical. You know, I need to hold myself to the same standards that I'm asking the rest of the team to deliver to. It's a great topic. There's a lot to it. But,
holding yourself to the same standards. Can you just say a little bit more about that?
I don't think anybody likes somebody that's kind of preaching, like, I need you to all go do this. People like to follow people that are already involved. You know, I think if you're active with your customers, if you're active with your prospects, if you're willing to be on those phone calls, if you're willing to write those emails, if you're willing to do the hard work, it's a lot easier to ask other people to do it than if you're telling people how to do things. So this is part of my parenting experience too. So.
And I love languages. I think it's real. Has anybody read that book? Right? Yeah. It's so good. And you can use it at work and school and parents, and of course, you know, with loved ones. Really nice job. Thank you. I'm going to add one in there, which is really easy to do. Don't cancel meetings. I can't tell you how often that was the #1 complaint. I've spent thousands of hours with thousands of reps over my career, right? And that's what they complain about most of their managers. Okay, Ham, I'm coming back to you. Sisu helps leaders get insights, right? Uncover the whys. That's the data analytics. And a ton of customers use you for sales insights or customer retention insights. So how about any data-driven insights about rep retention?
Yeah, it's a great question. I tend to think of this a little bit differently, sort of how I think about customer retention. It's a bit of a lagging outcome. So I'd like to flip it and say, what are the leading indicators on retention? And for us, Brilliant. That comes in the form of engagement and kind of engagement metrics and engagement surveys and those types of things, different methods to get at it. And in the chat, and even what Cassidy talked about, I think to drive engagement, what we see, there are multiple factors, but a big one is this concept of providing challenging work opportunities that come outside of the lane of the day-to-day. And so someone in the chat said, hey, make people part of the decision process. Yeah. If you're iterating on a new first pitch deck, can you give an AE an opportunity to collab with product marketing and do that, et cetera? Can you provide opportunities around event strategy and other things? So one of the things we're really focused on is, yes, you got to execute your job, and maybe not everybody wants to raise their hand, but people want opportunities outside of their lane, which drives engagement, which for us drives a sense of purpose and retention.
No, I get that loud and clear. But I got to ask a question about this. I love that you corrected me, by the way. Thank you for that. Because engagement begets retention. But I've made the mistake of about giving those stretch opportunities to people who weren't necessarily ready. Right. So I think I would frame yours as the way to retain your top people. They need growth and stretch opportunities. Do you think it's for everybody?
I think,
not?
Yeah, it's a great point, LB. I think you have to pick the right situations to make people successful and recognize where people are in their evolution. So I don't think it's an absolute, but I think you have to be thoughtful of if you have someone that is, a little bit more junior in their development, which type of project or challenge do you put to them because you want them to be successful? So I think it's a great point. You don't want to set someone up to fail.
And that's maybe where I did. Yeah, absolutely. That's really good. Thank you so much for that. I like that. And you guys, that's a big takeaway. Engagement. Let's talk engagement to prevent the retention. Mark, you are a VP. You also lead a team, right? You have the hardest player coach kind of thing happening there. So as you have gotten higher in your career, has that changed your perspective at all about a great rep relationship?
Well, I think we all learn from each other every day, right? And we started with this, before this started, but I've learned a lot from my good managers and I've learned a lot from my less good managers.
We might have named names before we hit play and record.
So it comes right down to the, it's a version of the golden rule that, kind of treat people like you want to be treated. I still think I have the gift of listening like an AE. I still hear things kind of the way an AE would hear things. But I think what's evolved for me, to answer your specific question, is I was on I heard at SaaStr, one of the speakers said, a good board of directors helps you look around the corner, right? They're going to help you see things you don't see. And so I really liked that notion because I don't know what I don't know. But I think I can also do that for my team to a degree, just to kind of give them visibility as to how management is thinking of things and how kind of other things that might affect them that aren't in their view right now.
I think that's brilliant on both sides. I wrote down look around the corner because I need that. Like I had a meeting today. I wish I had that line. But being able to still listen like an AE is critical. And most sales managers are rising through the ranks, right? So how do you represent both sides? And that ain't easy. All right, Cassidy, I'm coming to you. You're a graduate of the Girls Club Manager Certification and Mentoring Program. What did you learn from the leaders you interacted with? You had mentors, you had advocates, you had peers. What did you learn about becoming a high-performing manager and how you would relate to it?
Yeah, great question. I would say, one of the biggest things was you have to keep reaching for those opportunities to grow. So if you're getting on a call with someone and you're maybe, like, for example, I was just when I started a little SDR, and talking to like VPs or owners of companies, they still want to learn from you too. And that's a mindset I think that I've adopted is like, stay hungry and you always have an opportunity to learn something. So asking for that conversation and keep that growth in learning mindset. And then two, just staying humble. The best leaders that I have met with are the ones that are humble and grateful, either to spend time with you or to learn that I guess life lesson from you. So if you're in Girls Club now or looking to network, just do it. You always have something to learn.
I think that's beautiful. And staying humble is sometimes hard. That goes with the don't be toxic. It's usually wrapped up in some ego, isn't it? Yeah. So you guys, I'm just going to give one last shot at this. Water cooler talk, right? So Cassidy, you had tons of reps with you in Girls Club. Mark, you've been mentoring proteges who may or may not love their manager. What horror stories have you heard that are words of wisdom that other people hate about their leaders? So Cassidy, you go first this time. Quick, rapid fire.
Absolutely. Well, as Marcus said, don't be toxic. And what that looks like is either not trusting your reps to do the job that you hired them to do and trying to do it all yourself, or two, micromanaging how they're doing it. Trust them to do it. That's what I've heard.
Love it. Mark.
There's kind of a weird thing. I mean, in sales, we use the term happy ears. And sometimes I feel like the people I'm working with had a conversation with their manager. And I think the manager meant to say one thing. And I think the rep heard another thing around kind of where they're going or how they're doing and what that means. And I think they set themselves up for 3 to 6 months down the road where everybody just misses each other because that communication wasn't open or clear or candid. And I think organizational priorities changed too, where I heard a commitment that you're going to give me a promotion or you're going to do this for me. And now we're doing layoffs. And so, but essentially what you said to me was a lie, kind of back in the day. And so, I mean, I think there's just some structural problems that kind of result from poor communication. Happy years.
It's so real. Happy years goes all ways. And so what do you follow up with an email? And right, that's one way from a manager, but then from a rep perspective, it's if something's unclear, you got to go bring it up, right? So I was promised a promotion, and then it seems obvious to a leader, we're in the middle of layoffs. We're not doing promotions. But if you don't go ask, I didn't think to come to you because it seemed obvious to me, right? So we've got to speak up. Really good lessons taken away from that. Anything to add, Brian?
No, I think the classic one, maybe just quick at is what I'll call the super rep syndrome or the mini me syndrome, where you're expecting everybody as a manager to have to do it the way that you do it. And there's only one template. And I think that can be really, really challenging if you're not open to different styles and perspectives. You can have points of view on how things need to get done, but you need to have an openness to understand different styles.
And I'm sure that's frustrating to folks, right? Oh, they just want me to be just like them. Yeah, exactly. So here's what's going to happen next, you guys. We're going to spend 4 minutes diving into the rep perspective. I'm going to make sure I close off with thank yous for everybody who's got to go at the bottom of the hour. But then we'll keep this conversation going, especially for those of you who want to join in and ask some questions, okay? So I'm going to go straight to actually lightning rounds. Okay, so I'm asking my last question first, and then we'll back up into other ones. We're going to flip the script now. I have leaders on the call and a rep on the call. I want to hear about the flip side perspective with a lightning round of pet peeves. As a leader, what drives you nuts when your reps do blank? So Ham, do you mind going first this time?
Not at all. And there's some folks I work with on this call that will recognize this one. Please do not come with problems and no solutions. Be a solution-oriented thinker. I'm good with problems, but I love when people come with solutions alongside problems. Constant problems without solution-oriented thinking is a problem.
Can't agree more. I'm going to underline that with the complaining, right? It's okay if you don't like something, but if you're not willing to go in and fix it, then don't complain about it. Yeah, Mark.
I think probably the most, there's two sides to this one, but I really like reps that are coachable and curious. I think Cassie just mentioned that. And the opposite of that is I already know everything. And it's really hard to support or help someone that's already knows everything. You know, there's almost nowhere you can go with that when the future is already preordained.
Right. So true. All right, Cassidy, I'm sure as you're climbing up to manager, right, you're surrounded with awesome and ambitious reps. Who doesn't make that list, right? What drives you nuts about peers?
What drives me nuts about peers are the folks that complain about the leads they're getting fed. They're like, oh, if the leads were only better, if only, where marketing was better, just go with what you have, work what you have, and keep the attitude. And two, I would say along that, bad attitudes, right? That's the one thing you can control in this job. So if you've got a bad attitude, that's a real big pet peeve for me.
That's tough. And it's tough to be around that. And you don't want to be around it either. It's a good one. The question we're going to get to after the bottom of the hour is, I'm going to ask these folks if they were putting together an all-star team. So instead of the negative side of that rep relationship, we're going to look at what makes somebody a superstar. So stay tuned after the bottom of the hour for that. But in the meantime, I really want to make sure that I plug these folks. So if you want to learn more and you want to get connected, 1111 and GeoPoint are both really cool tools. And I have a ton of clients that use them both. So go get a demo from Ascent Cloud and get to know Mark's team and see if they're as happy as we think they probably are working for Mark. And the other one for Know Before, hey folks, pull a Cassidy. They're hiring. So get to know who they are through knowbefore.com/careers. And for the ladies on the call, they actually hit number 1 on the list of where women want to work. Congratulations to them. So if you'd like to take a look at machine learning and AI, you've got to get to know Brian and his team at Sisu. And in fact, Brian, your team was raving about you all over LinkedIn when we were talking about this event. So I think that would be fun and probably the best demo you're ever going to get. If you were intrigued about what Girls Club is and think it might be time to check it out, you can go save your seat in Generation 5, which happens next year at wearegirlsclub.com/Gen 5. And Factor 8 is our other sponsor. I hear they have a fabulous team and president over there as well. That's my other company, folks. And we have boot camps and master classes I want to tell you about. So if you wish you could provide the training that people so desperately wanted, but you don't have a big budget, now's the time to repurpose some training or some travel or incentive budget that is unspent, because we've got it for under $600 and there's cohorts starting once per quarter. We've got rep master classes on prospecting, discovery, deal progression, closing, etc. We've got manager master classes. Teach them how to lead their folks from 101 and 201 to call coaching. So let me stop the share. If you've got to run now at the bottom of the arrow, do it. Thank you for joining us. If you don't, stay tuned for my final question, and then we're going to take your questions. So type your questions either into the chat or into Q&A. Here's the last question. Mark, I'm coming to you first. You're putting together an all-star team, right? Ascent Cloud is about to put out the latest and greatest revenue app, and you are supposed to put together a powerhouse team to take it to market. What is on your checklist? What are you looking for on that team?
Yeah, well, I mean, the first is coachability and that openness, curiosity, so that we can all work together, especially if we're launching a new product. We're gonna have to pitch test together. We're gonna have to figure things out together. I don't need any know-it-alls kind of on that team. I need some grit and resilience. I mean, I think Cassidy referenced how tough this job can be. And if you had a bad day today and you're not coming back tomorrow, that's probably not going to work in our field of choice here. So you got to find a way to kind of process that and move on.
Good.
And I'm also stealing from Cassidy, but you know, a positive attitude goes a long way in this world. And if you can kind of adapt and overcome, you're gonna be a lot more fun to work with. And I think you're probably going to get some better outcomes.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for that. Good. Ham, what can you add to the list?
Yeah, +1 to all those. Those are great. I would say I would add comfort with ambiguity. So things aren't always going to be straightforward, particularly at different stages of companies. So can you execute when maybe the answer isn't fully defined for you? Are you willing to go and work and help put that together? I think that's my number one.
It's good. We talk a lot about that at Factor 8. We have got a culture of do it and ask for forgiveness. Don't not do it and ask for permission. But then what happens is every once in a while, like we color outside the lanes, right? And then LB gets back involved. It's like, hey, whoa, stop, right? Hey, let's come back this way. Let's come back that way, which is where that resilience and coachability and being okay with it comes in. Yeah, we got to be willing to admit our mistakes and also share the learning. I'm looking for people who are super communicative and curious, because especially if it's something new, then how do we know if we're doing it right? Yeah. Cassidy, how about you?
I was going to say maybe some new ones would be, first of all, people who are humble, people who are grateful, and I guess people who would lean into the things that scare them, right? So I guess along the lines of what you were saying, Brian, and I would say the last thing is people who want to have fun and, you know, show up with, like, I guess it's that good attitude. Because work can be a grind sometime. And I would say, you know, I know for me personally, one of my favorite parts is having a good manager and a good team who's willing to have fun and make the most of those moments. So that's what I would be looking for.
Yeah, well, because it's going to be hard work. So you want to be with people you want to be with.
And that sense of humor really goes a long way too.
Yeah, I have to agree. When we would do panel interviews for anybody who would join the Factor 8 team, the last question we would ask the team is, would you go on vacation with this person?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do I want to? Yeah, it makes a big difference. And it's easy to do that in a really small company. So I'm going to invite everybody who's with us, please, to type a question in for our panel. Now is the time to ask those burning questions you've always wondered about. Am I doing it right? Is this rep wrong? Could this be better? Right? So whatever it needs to be, type your question in. And while I'm waiting for those to come in, you can do it in chat or Q&A, folks, your call. I'm going to share another one with you and then ask you guys if there's any last tips you want to share. I was brainstorming this with one of our new advisors at Factor 8, who is our most recent sales manager, right? We go out and find great sales leaders and we teach them how to be trainers. And Brad was our most recent. And, you know, I was asking him about that relationship and what do you think made it really, really good. And he shared a ton of the things that you guys shared. But then the thing he loved most was, he said, do a strengths-based interview. And not just an interview to get the job, but hey, we're working together, or maybe even once a year. And you're asking strengths-based questions. What are you great at? What gets you up in the morning? What assets do you have we're not using? None of it's around improvement areas. None of it's around numbers. So it's that human touch point, but in it's a way that helps somebody find what their secret sauce is. And that's a powerful meeting. So I wanted to share that with everybody. Thanks for that very much, BT. All right, here we go. We got a couple questions in here. We'd love to hear about the optimal manager sales rep one-on-one format. Cassidy, I know we teach this in Girls Club, that coaching model. Is that something that you've taken? Is that something you'd like and you would say is a great format? Can we use that as a cheat sheet? But I'm coming to you because I know that we teach it. Brian and Mark, maybe you've got one that's even better.
Yeah, I mean, definitely +1 for the coaching model. That's something that I am not yet in a manager role, but would love to lean into. I would say also the meetings that are scheduled. So if you're just like, oh, we'll catch up later, or like, canceling meetings, like you said, have that regular touch point in that agenda. So whatever that looks like for you, regular touch points and agenda. Say Mark and Brian, up to you.
Yeah, I'll jump in. We actually sell a solution that does this as well. So this maybe sets us up for another 30 minutes at some point, Lauren. But the first thing is that I have different folks at different levels, so they all need different things. And so the one size fits all coaching doesn't really work. Brian, you alluded to this. Pipeline review does not count as coaching, I was told by my team. And so what our solution does is it gives us kind of some subjective questions in terms of what's going well, what are your challenges, kind of updates to ongoing items. And then we pull in the data on the second half, just in terms of how are we performing against expectations. And it really does kind of make for a balanced conversation. And again, the way we do it, it's rep initiated coaching where they're providing some content ahead of time. So they're not like, come on, Mark, give me some superpower, right? Yeah. This is the things I'm thinking about today. These are the things that would help. And the last comment I'll make, because of having done this before, is my team says I'm at my best when I'm sparking realizations rather than telling them how to do things. When I can kind of walk them to a place where they go, oh, I wonder if I should do this. And I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. So
nice.
So
that means you're an excellent. That means you're an excellent coach, right?
Oh, well, which is I'm an excellent coach right here without any of my team talking. Yeah, I mean, it's, that's all TBD later today when they
right. Hey, if you work for Mark and you're in the chat, feel free.
Yeah, no, don't.
+1. Yeah, there it is. I knew it would come in. Amy also dropped in a cheat sheet for the coaching model. It's a process that we teach at Factor 8 in Management 101 boot camp. And it can be used in any meeting to make sure that you're hitting all the points and asking the questions. But more and more people are asking for a tool to help manage that. And I love that you provide that at Ascent Cloud. I didn't know that. Thank you very much. Here we go. Next question is, what do you do when you've got a strong performer, but they're resistant to some of those personal growth recommendations? Right? So maybe I can pull in a number, but I've got an attitude. Let's use that as the example, right? Some of those behavioral things we said weren't optimal. Any suggestions about how you address that as a leader?
I can maybe take that. I think sometimes the best type of feedback that is constructive can come from indirect feedback. And what I mean by that is sometimes sourcing feedback from peers or people that have to work with the individuals instead of the direct manager relationship can be an interesting lens. So it's not necessarily you delivering the bad news. It's saying, hey, interesting, you're doing great. You're crushing results. Would you be curious to hear how others in the organization perceive working with you, both positively and constructively? And I think in that case, I'm particularly influenced by, am I impactful to my teammates? And am I helping them? And so I think those views, when it comes from not just your direct manager, are particularly powerful, particularly on the attitude side, when people may just say, oh, my manager doesn't get me. Well, these 6 or 7 or 8 other people that work with you cross-functionally don't get you either. And that tends to be a powerful message.
Oh, super powerful. I'm taking the note, but now I'm thinking, how do I do it? So follow-up question, Ham, is do you go get that? Do you invite them to go get it? Do you employ somebody else to come and get it? How's that work?
Yeah, I think there are a couple different ways. So through your feedback processes organizationally, I think there's opportunities for direct feedback, anonymous feedback. And then I think what I always do out in conjunction with our 360 review is I do anonymous just socialization, sort of, hey, provide me feedback. I won't ascribe it to you, but what are themes that you think would help this individual the most? And so I think you can get it through a variety of those channels, and then you kind of get that tapestry and weave it together to tell the story. So I think you can have formal, informal, and then kind of conversational. And I think those data points can be powerful.
And it does show trust that folks have in you to go and get that.
Sure.
Right? If there's not trust in your manager and that relationship isn't strong, you don't want that person collecting your feedback. Yeah, really good. I like that. I'm going to ask one last one. Thank you, Lori. Some creative ideas for promoting a positive and encouraging culture. Because we all know it when it's bad, but it's not necessarily a fast, direct path to creating it to be good.
You know, I would say, just to start us off, don't overlook the power of like positive affirmations. So if you talked about something in a like, let's say a morning huddle or a morning meeting, and somebody tells you that they used it, call that out. You know, whether it's to them or to the team, or just the power of compliments. People want to hear that they're doing well and get that affirmation. You know, some people prefer it, you know, one-to-one, other people prefer it publicly. So if you know that, even better, but don't underestimate the power of words.
Good one. Thank you for that. And it's free and easy. Anyone else?
I love quotes, and I mean, one of my colleagues just shared this one the other day, but it's I don't care how much you know until I know how much you care. And I think there's kind of some of that underlying kind of trust or relationship building or just trying to really kind of understand how you can best support that person. And I think once you have that foundation, combined with some of the things Cassidy said around recognition, I think that goes a long way. And I think you have to be in character all the time. They can't see you positive, lose your mind. Positive. I think it scares people when you do that.
Yeah, I do that. I know I do that, right? I'm positive all day long, but I get frustrated sometimes and lose my shit. And that does scare people. So it's a good one. Thank you for that. Pam.
Yeah, I would say we practice a value called relentless sharing at CSU. And part of that is you have to be willing to shine a light on both positive and challenging situations. We do something called tape review every so often, where we'll take a gong call and we'll specifically ask for ones. We have a hall of fame and a hall of shame. And that's not to say, but we want people to embrace what's hard and almost enjoy sharing that for the learning. And the way that you build connectedness is and oftentimes I'll put my own call in there. Say, listen to me on this call. Cringeworthy. Here's what I did wrong.
Yeah.
And that's important.
Thank you for that. I couldn't agree more. It's something that we embrace wholly at Girls Club. So I'll wrap it up this way. We have an entire section around building confidence in Girls Club, not just the management skills, but building confidence. And our number one way we do that is by helping people take more risks by devaluing perfectionism. How do you devalue perfectionism and make people okay being a little more vulnerable and taking risks? You got to share failures. So we have a whole series called Rise Up on Records, where we have our mentors and advocates and thought leaders share fears, failures, and F-ups, and literally just record it. And people binge them. We love those. I do one every single month, and I'm never short of material. And if you can share failures and embrace those, you're building what's called a growth mindset, where it's more about the learning and the developing than the winning and the being perfect. And that's a culture everybody wants to be a part of. I want to thank my panel one more time. You guys are fantastic. You're known to be incredible people and humans and leaders and companies, and you shared really good actionable tactics and strategies here today. And I loved all the feedback and interaction in the chat. So as we sign off, make sure you do check the chat. You can get people's links there. You can download those retention stats and start this conversation in your own organization. And I thank you all very, very much. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Stephanie.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.